Welcome to another episode of the Grappling with Life podcast. Today, I'm joined by Ali El Kheir, all the way from Sydney, Australia. I was going to play that tune, you know, that something down under. Do you remember that tune? I forgot what they're called, bruv. But we don't have the button for it. But anyway, Ali, welcome.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam, bro. Thank you for coming. And guys, listen, I know that it's like the Ethernet cable that we installed from here all the way to Australia. There's a bit of a lag, so just bear with us. But we've been trying to get this interview and this conversation for about 2 months now, 3 months, and I managed to not literally pin, but to use a wrestling term, to pin Ali down for today, this morning. It's actually, what time is it over there?
It's now 10:30 p.m.
10:30. So I appreciate you taking the time out.
I appreciate you guys having me on.
Barakallahu fik, akhi, barakallahu fik. So why don't you just tell us a little bit about yourself, just to get cracking?
So I'm 28 years old.
MashaAllah.
We live in Sydney, Australia, and been grappling now, doing wrestling for like 14 years. And I do jiu-jitsu about 10 years now.
MashaAllah.
So we have our wrestling gym in Australia, but we also do jiu-jitsu. Probably do more jiu-jitsu than we do wrestling, but it's called Sydney Wrestling Academy. And compete pretty regularly. So alhamdulillah, we like take it pretty seriously around here. But just an additive and a hobby, you know, nothing more than that. So alhamdulillah, it's a good hobby to have when things can be a lot worse, you know.
Alhamdulillah, barakallahu fik, Ali. So quick question though, so I don't know what the wrestling scene is like in Australia. If it's anything like here, it's kind of almost non-existent, yeah, almost. It's getting, I think over the last 10 years, it's really kind of seen wrestling grow in the country because of MMA and jiu-jitsu. But what's the wrestling scene like in Australia and specifically Sydney?
Yeah, it's pretty much the same probably for you guys. So it was non-existent for a while, but alhamdulillah, in the last 10 years, it's starting to grow. Okay. And even some of the jiu-jitsu gyms, they're starting to add a wrestling program. A lot of MMA gyms are starting to add the wrestling program. So you go to competitions now, you expect to see a few guys, you know, at least 5, sometimes 10 in the division. It's been picking up slowly, which is nice, alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah. And I know Robert Whittaker, is he from Sydney, bro? I know not everyone from Australia is from Sydney.
Yeah.
He is, yeah?
So I actually used to train with him. Him and I, we went to the ADCC trial in Japan in 2019.
Okay, mashallah. So I know he wrestled as well, like, right? I don't know what kind of level he wrestled at. I'm not quite sure, but.
Yeah, so he won the Commonwealth trials here, and he was supposed to go to the Commonwealth Games, but I think at the time he was fighting Yoel Romero just before.
Right.
So he actually didn't end up going to it in the risk of injury. But yeah, his gym is Gracie Humaita, but they also called Smeaton Grange or Grange Valley Wrestling. So they're like our main competitors when we go to competition.
Okay, right. How far away are they from you?
They're at 45 minutes drive.
Okay.
Not too long.
Okay, mashallah. So, like, if you guys haven't noticed, yeah, obviously Ali is ginger. If you're listening to this, Ali's a ginger guy. But we had this little thing, and before on air, I had to guess his ethnicity, and I guessed right. To be honest, it's not fair because I don't think there's any other type of Arabs in Australia, and Ali is from the Lebanese persuasion. But what's it like? Like explain to us the Lebanese kind of like how do I put this, man? Effect on culture in Sydney and in Australia. How many Lebanese are there, bruv? Like, is it a lot? I know how do I explain it? Because there's some places here, like for example, you go to a South Hall. There's a place in London called South Hall, yeah? It's mainly South Asians. So mainly Tamils, right? You got Chinatown, obviously, because every country almost has China. Any of the Western countries got Chinatown, yeah. So what's the Lebanese kind of? Because I know you guys are quite intense, man.
Right, there's not that many Lebanese people. Like, you probably only find Lebanese people in Sydney, and in Sydney,
Right.
in like 4 or 5 suburbs, you know.
Yeah.
But they make the loudest noises, bro. The Lebanese, they just anytime you hear someone say Lebo, it's like always on the news, all the problems, all the shootings, all the drugs, everything is just the Lebanese people. Alhamdulillah. So
Alhamdulillah. You know, it's funny. I was saying to Imran the other day. We were at the gym. I said, look, I don't know what it's the same about Lebanese, but Algerians, we have this disability that we don't know how to whisper. We can't whisper, bro. There's no whispering. It's like everything is loud, you know. And I think Lebanese people have got a very similar temperament to Algerians. You know, they're quite.
that's bad, 100%.
Yeah. So we get
That's
along
bad, bro.
on a long because Syrians are a little bit different, right?
They're the civil ones out of all of us.
Yes, they're more relaxed and chilled and like, you know, even the way they speak as well, like it's like they're singing, you know, like. But mashallah, Lebanese are like, hey, you know, like very much in your
They're
face.
intense, bro.
Yes, bro. Yes.
You gotta see a Lebanese wedding around here, bro. It's so loud. There's cars. It's just a mess. Every time after it, they gotta probably clean up the streets for like days.
We caught something here. It went viral over the internet. These 2 Lebanese brothers, they were interviewed by some journalist. I don't know if you've seen this. This was been about 10 years ago, man. Zach, see if you can find it, bro, yeah? But I'm pretty sure, but it was, do you know those 2 guys?
Yeah.
I'm going to see if Zach can find it. But
I remember that.
they were the reporter. It's so Australian and so Lebanese at the same time, bro. It was hilarious, man. While Zach finds it, we'll just carry on. But so where do you live in Sydney, and how big is Sydney as well?
So in terms of diameter, I wouldn't know how big it is, but I live in an area or a suburb called Auburn.
Right.
So that's predominantly Lebanese people. And then you have Bankstown, you have Punch Bowl, Greenacre, maybe 4 or 5 suburbs in Sydney that are like predominantly Lebanese, you know, and then everyone would always be like, you live in those areas, it's just like the Lebanese places.
Right. And that's where
But
you
in
live.
terms of diameter, I wouldn't know how big it is.
So what I mean is,
I live in Auburn, yeah.
Okay, so that's predominantly Lebanese.
Lebanese, Turkish, or it's like mainly immigration area.
Right. And what's the crime like there and stuff? Because obviously, unfortunately, where there's, I'm not saying we commit crimes. I'm not saying that, but it's just obviously wherever there's a lower social economical state, yeah, there's always like some sort of naughty people around, isn't it? So, what's it like where you are?
Man, it's not like where if you walk out in the streets and you have to worry about anything.
Yeah.
Probably the safest areas, you know, they're very safe. And everyone knows everyone in terms of community. But there's problems between people, you know, big families that have problems with another family. Wherever you hear like shootings happen, it's always around these areas. Murders always around these areas. It's just Lebanese people getting along with Lebanese people in the best ways.
It's like back. Okay, so this is the interview, Ali. Yeah, can you see it? Can you see?
Yeah.
Okay, so is that?
What's his name? His name's Tony. Can you give us his name?
Look at the way he's rubbing his face.
Scarface. Yeah, you watch it? Good movie.
Man, they went viral all over Sydney.
My name's Sam.
Those boys are from Melbourne. They're from another state.
Okay, right. But have you seen this video?
I've seen it. Yeah, I haven't seen it in years, but I remember it. It was funny.
But you know, it was so Australian, but also so Arab at the same time. Yeah, I was like, this is so... Just play a quick couple of seconds and then we'll do it over. Yeah. So his friend's just messing with him, bro. He's just messing with him the whole...
Actually?
No, my name's Toby.
What's your accent?
Toby Mitchell.
And he got his gear back, didn't he?
They're funny guys. Like that.
Yeah, he got his pipe back, he got his bong, he's got everything back.
He got his equipment back.
Oh, yes, his equipment. He
All right,
sure
Zach,
did.
we'll leave it in the description, but that is hilarious, bro. So you know the thing what she said to him, what's your real name? He goes, my name's Toby, bro. So Ali, another thing I wanted to discuss a little bit about is
that guy that he said, Toby Mitchell.
yeah. Was the
Why he's like, what's your real name?
yeah. Sorry, there's a bit of a delay, Ali. Sorry, man. But what I wanted to ask you, Ali, is this whole thing about. I know there's a rise of like the right wing in Australia as well. There's a lot of kind of anti-immigration sentiment there, and especially anti-Muslim. Like obviously it's happening everywhere in the West, you know. So I just want, what's the climate like there for Muslims?
Man, you know, like you can always, if you listen to the news, it's just going to make it out like it's the worst thing possible. Get rid of these Muslims.
Yeah.
And we have like a group here called the One Nation Party, you know, and there's always like anti-Muslims, anti-Lebanese, anti-immigration, you know, all of those like campaigns, but they never go ahead, you know. It's just because there's that minority of people that think that way, they might get that bit of votes and whatnot. But you never see anything around here where there's like a white guy attacking an Arab guy for no reason, or Arab guys attacking white guys for no reason. You know, people generally get along really well around here.
Alhamdulillah.
And probably like years ago, I think it was 2004, there was this thing called the Cronulla riots where like Lebanese people had a problem with the Australians at this suburb called Cronulla. But they just blew it out more than what it really was, you know. And then, alhamdulillah, we haven't ever seen anything like that again. So people get along pretty well here, which is what I think is the best thing about Australia.
Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah. And how often do you go back to Lebanon?
I've actually never been to Lebanon, man.
You've never been? SubhanAllah.
Bro, my dad hasn't been back in like 40 years, so I wouldn't even know how to get there.
SubhanAllah. I mean, it's similar to like when my dad left Algeria, so we didn't go back until, so imagine he left in the 70s, maybe early 80s, and I didn't see Algeria until 2003. So you can imagine that time we never went back.
Inshallah.
Yeah, so, and I still haven't been back since 2003 myself.
What was it like when you went over there?
It was emotional, Ali, man, because like you could probably relate. You're kind of a foreigner your whole life, right? Even though I'm technically British, yeah. I was born in Algeria, but I came here when I was very little, and like must have been about maybe 1 or 2 years old. So you're a minority, right? You're living as a minority. You're always told you're a minority. When you're filling out the forms, you got to check a box and all this stuff, yeah. And then for the first time when I went back, it was like, wow, everyone kind of looks like me and has the same culture and has, but on the flip side was I wasn't quite like them either. So it was, I was, even though I was comfortable, but when they found out that I was from the West, it was, oh, here we go again. It's like being in England again, being the other guy, innit? The guy who's from England now. Does that make sense? So it was, so you're kind of stuck in between two worlds, and most immigrants have this issue, you know? So I'm sure like, and Lebanon, obviously, it's been a hotbed of, because of the way it's set up politically, innit? It's been very, volatile in over the last 50, 60 years, isn't it? It's been up and down. And I know a lot of Lebanese.
Man, on paper.
Yeah.
Yeah, on paper, if you were to look at the Lebanese political party, you would think it's the most perfect picture ever, you know? The president has to be a Christian, then the second in line has got to be a Muslim Sunni, and then the third is like a Shia. But man, nothing goes well over there. It's like, I think it's probably one of the worst countries right now in terms of financial stability. So it's pretty bad right now.
Yeah, and I think one thing that doesn't discriminate is corruption. So the thing when some corruption doesn't care if you're Christian, Muslim, Shia, like whatever it is, corruption is corruption, isn't it? So it's kind of the Lebanese people, and I would say with this, most Arab countries are like this, especially the ones that are in turmoil. They pretty much get along with each other, man. It kind of, they just get on day to day. It's kind of like when you look at Arab countries, you've got the government and all the civil service and people who work for the government. Then you have the people, innit? And then it's almost like oil and water. They never mix, you know? So you've got these guys governing over a whole population,
100%.
but there's no, like, if there's a hole in the road, like, some people have to just go and get some cement or whatever it is, some tarmac or whatever, and fix it themselves, because the government ain't gonna come fix it, bro. Or blackouts, or like there's no water. He doesn't care if this shit I was Sunni is president, bro. I just want some water in my. Do you know what I'm saying? Or I want the electricity to be running, man. Which is, do you know what I mean?
Electricity for longer than an hour.
Wow.
100%, bro.
But you know what I'm saying? I don't care who's president. I just want my amenities, and I want to live I want to have a future. Do you get me? So, subhanAllah. What I'm interested in now is, let's get into the fun part, bro, which is your wrestling. Because I think for me, wrestling is my love, bro, my first love, you know? So, all my kids wrestle, bro.
Yeah.
I coach wrestling, I train wrestling, bro. I watch wrestling. I I read wrestling, and I love jiu-jitsu as well. I love grappling, don't get me wrong. But if I had to do one sport for the rest of my life, it would definitely be wrestling, bro. And if it was something that I would pass down to my children and my children's children, it would be wrestling, bro. It's just something about it, something about that sport that I really love, you know. And a very close second is jiu-jitsu, bro. So talk us a bit about your wrestling journey and how you got to this point here.
Man, wrestling has got to be the toughest sport in the world, eh? Just nothing compares to it. But me, when I was like 13 or 14, I remember my brother, he started wrestling. And he was traveling 45 minutes to get into the city. And then he'd come back and he's always talking about it. You know, I do this wrestling and I do wrestling, and always like this move and that move. And I was playing rugby at school. So when I was young, I used to always tell everyone I'm going to make it to the top in rugby. I was going to make it to the top in rugby, you know? And then one day I didn't have training because it was rained out. So my brother was like, you know, come to wrestling. And I was like, bro, if I go there, you know, I'm a good tackler. I'm going to smash everyone. I want to smash everyone. And then my brother was like, yeah, no worries. You just come and smash these guys. And then, bro, got there and I was getting thrown across the room. Smaller guys, younger kids, I was getting thrown. Don't remember what happened. It was bad, man. And just from there, I just fell in love with it. I said, man, I love this. I want to keep coming. And, you know, my brother, he started a bit older. He was like 28 when he started wrestling. And then he started going more often because I wanted to go. And then probably a year later after that, he opened up a gym. And that was the start of Sydney Wrestling Academy in 2010. And we just used to do it. He literally just opened up the gym because he wanted a place for myself, other people in the community to start training. He wanted to really introduce it to the community. So we started training there, and the coach from Sydney Uni was coming where we used to train. He would come 2 or 3 days a week. Then we'd have other coaches come, and people started loving it, man. But people weren't paying memberships, and there's rent to pay. So after the year lease, it just really couldn't sustain itself. So alhamdulillah, it went down. But I was like to my brother, you know, I'm going to keep going, and I want to keep going to Sydney Uni and other places that were hosting wrestling. So I kept going, and he would take me, and days he couldn't take me, I would just catch the train, and really stuck to it. I think a year after that, in 2011, one of the musallas nearby, they built a connection to the musalla, and they would use it for Jum'ah and big prayers and at Tarawih time in Ramadan. So we would wrestle in there. And again, recontinuation of it. Then a year later, it just couldn't sustain. And so they would still use that place as for Salat, but the wrestling really just didn't go to plan like they wanted it to. So I just kept going to Sydney Uni, and that was pretty much the start of my wrestling journey in probably 2009.
MashaAllah, bro. So So between that and opening Sydney Wrestling Academy, like your own location and how you're doing it now, you were training at Sydney University?
Yeah, that's where I started my wrestling. Yeah.
Right. So was it like a college program or university program, or was it just was it part of the, how do I put it? Was the university sanctioning this sport? Was it a sport that, or was it just like like one guy was like really passionate about it and started the wrestling program?
So yeah, I think the one guy just started the program, and the university had the facility, but people at the university could train there, but you could be an outsider and train there. So that was the good thing. It was just it was a wrestling club based out of Sydney Uni.
Okay, cool. And what's the scene like? So if you took Australia as a whole, yeah, like where's the hub of wrestling? So if you say, you know what, like for us, yeah, really, so we've been so Coach Amir, who's Dr. Amir, he's been coaching wrestling since 1997. And it would be like yourselves, like in little place like community centers, the masjid, and then eventually in 2011, he opened up Legion, and I joined in 2012. So I started at 28 like your brother. I was 27 actually at the time when I started wrestling.
You and him got to be the same person. Just over in the UK, bro.
Yeah, that's right. MashaAllah, bro. I'm sure he can smash me, bro. It's no problem, bro. But
No.
but I started.
He's just the one guy that's always on the mat now, talking the most smack, bro. Everyone comes, he'll talk so much smack, and everyone wants to smash him, and then he'll be like, "Oh, bro, you smashed me, whatever." Like, is that all, bro? After all that,
does he still coach? He coaches.
He coaches, man. He coaches the kids program. And he's always part of in the jiu-jitsu classes. Him and I, we coach the older kids.
Yeah.
And the scene is really growing, bro. Like we had the national youth championships just about 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of kids, man. I was shocked. I didn't expect so many kids to come from interstate because Australia, it's a massive country. To travel from one side to the other side is about 5 to 6 hours, in the plane.
On the plane?
Well, you guys, you get in the plane, bro.
Whoa! I didn't realize. This is my ignorance, bro. Yeah, I didn't realize Australia is that big, man.
Australia is huge, bro, but the population is small here. It's like 23 million or 24 million.
So why do you complain about immigration for, bro? What the hell, man? It's like these guys. That's crazy. 23 million.
There's so much. 23 million. You guys probably got that in one city.
Bruv, London, how big, what's the population? I'm pretty sure the population in the UK is about 70 something. Check it out, Zach. That is nuts, man.
If you want to get from the west coast to the east coast of Australia, it's 5.5 to 6 hours flight, bro. It's not close.
Wow. So the population of the UK is 58 million. What about London? 68. What about London? London's probably about 20 something. 9 million. Okay, that's a bit. I overshot that one, but 9 million, that's half almost. I overshot that one. Imagine there's 23 million living in London, bro. That's
a real immigration problem.
That's proper immigration problem, bro. Wow. So
I don't have the politicians talking, bro.
Exactly. So can I say something?
Yeah.
So is Sydney the hub for wrestling in Australia?
Yeah, so probably Sydney and Melbourne right now, they're the hubs of wrestling.
Right. And how far is Sydney from Melbourne? Are they neighbouring?
It's neighbouring state, but it's about an hour in the plane. We just went last week. We drove back. It was 8.5 hours.
Wow. And I'm guessing, so Melbourne now, is it summertime for you guys in Sydney?
Yeah, summertime. So I was just telling Zach before.
Yeah.
It's like in the summertime, you will reach like 35, 40 degrees plus here, and it's a dry summer. But we're experiencing now this thing called La Nina. So we've been having a lot of rain.
Right.
But they reckon it happens once every 10 years. We've had it for the last 3 or 4 years now, bro.
Is it how bad's the rain?
Like in areas, it's flooding, man. It's destroying people's houses. Yeah. Ooh. Around us, it's all right. It's good, alhamdulillah. But in like rural places, which are not that far from here, 3-4 hours away, it's proper flooding, man.
SubhanAllah. So yeah, like just going back to the wrestling scene, because it intrigues me, because I interviewed, I don't know if you, I'll send you if you haven't watched it, I'll send you the podcast I did with, what's his name? Oh my God, he's going to kill me, bro. The American brother, what's his name, man? No, the wrestling. Mike, yeah. Mike Carrero, he's a wrestling coach he was coaching in New York, but he went through the whole college system and how they get wrestlers from. It's so fascinating, man. Like how they push wrestling through the whole system, and what the different areas, and how they get all the talent, and the different leagues, and D1, and then you got freshmen, and like, bruv, it's crazy, man. And I think to be fair to the British Wrestling Association, I think the past year they've been doing really good work to try and get regionals done, because I think competitions in the UK, we've got two big ones. We've got the British seniors, which is like Scotland, Wales, Ireland, and England, the best. So the top guys from all these, it's a competition for that. And then we've got the English, which is just England. I think those are two big competitions every year. Then we have like maybe 2 or 3 big competitions outside of that. Yeah. But I mean, if you look at jiu-jitsu here, every single week there's a competition. Like you could go compete every weekend if you want to.
Same as you, bro.
Yeah. So it makes me very jealous, bro. I'm not going to lie. It makes me angry, man, because I'm thinking wrestlers need to wrestle. They need to compete weekly, man. They need to have that, what he said.
Need matches.
Yeah, bro, you need that, man. Like what Mike was telling me, imagine their season starts in October, yeah? And they wrestle every single week till March. You can imagine, like...
That's massive.
It's huge, bro. Like, and that's why they're so good.
Bro, we're lucky now. What we're having is this thing called the Super Series. So they're running 4 comps a year. People will start coming from interstate for them. Otherwise, before that, you might have states, you might have the nationals, like a few things in between, like PCYC, which is like youth centers. They were having competitions, but man, they just don't get that much numbers. But ever since they introduced this Super Series, they've been getting more people wrestling. And they introduced this thing called the novice division. So it entices like these jiu-jitsu guys to give it a go,
That's correct. That's what's happening here now is, I think we might, inshallah, maybe next year, we're going to run our own competition. So what the British Wrestling Association, what they've said was, look, if you want to run competition, there's no problem. We will send you referees. We'll send you the software for the points and all that type of stuff. So like, it's encouraging clubs to kind of, do competitions, which is really good. And I feel like once you start getting competition, and the novice stuff, that's important. So I think I'm part of this group from the southern region. So the south of the UK. So if you think about, I don't know if you look at England, you've got the north and then you've got the south, you've got the Midlands, the middle.
Yep.
So the south is all the clubs from the south. So we've got like a group. And what Eric, he's the southern region kind of coordinator. Eric, don't kill me, bro. I don't know what the job title is exactly, but he coordinates all the stuff in the south. So what he's done is every month we do like an inter-club. We haven't really sent anyone yet because our guys are not ready yet, but we will. And that's for novices only. So guys who've maybe wrestled for about 6 months to a year, just to get that. Because if you can imagine, if you've just started wrestling and then the only competition you can actually go to is the British, which is the best in UK, the English, which is again the best in England, and then we've got the Birmingham Slam again. All those, think about all those guys are going to go to there as well. So it's quite daunting, isn't it? So yeah.
I always tell my dudes that do jiu-jitsu, I say, don't worry, when you're versing, you're going to a jiu-jitsu comp. If you're a white belt, expect you're going to verse a white belt. Yeah. You're going to verse a blue belt, expect you're going to verse a blue belt. The guy might be talented. He might be a talented person in that division. But he's not like a black belt level, you know what I mean? Yeah. He's not going to be that sort of level. But when you go to a wrestling comp, you might be wrestling for a week. wrestle Iranian champion in your division coming to visit Australia, you're getting dumped on your head, Suplex City, bro. You're going for a fly.
100%. I've seen it as well. I've seen, you know, I always
Yeah.
look at the ears. I look at the ears and I look at the look in their face. That, you know, someone's, that look in their eyes that they've seen death and they've come back. They've visited the angel of death and come back again, bro. You know those guys? I'm like, oh my God.
That guy's in my division. You're looking at, you've lost before you started. Like, that guy's in my division.
Exactly, yeah.
But
So
that's what makes you tough with wrestling, you know? That's what
100%.
makes you tough. You're just going to wrestle anyone. There's no experience level. It's just that guy. And you have to overcome that. I really believe that. Like, most matches, even any combat sports, a lot of it is mentality. If you went in and you're like, I'm going to beat this guy, most of the time you can beat that guy. Of course, if he's a lot more talented than you, but if you run in a close path, man, that guy might be having his worst day and you having your best day, you can beat that dude.
It's true, man. And so what we introduced, because I mean before, because of the lack of competition and stuff, we introduced a grading system. So in wrestling, we have gradings now. So for the kids, we have like awards, an award system. Yeah. So you've got your white award for the kids. It's like the jiu-jitsu belt system: white, yellow, orange, green. Yeah. So we have all the moves.
Smart idea, bro.
For that, and then also for the adults as well, we have blue, purple, brown, black. So, like for example, for the kids, the white, to get your white award, you have to know your basic acrobatics like cartwheels, front row, back row, judo row, reverse press, reverse straddle, you know, these ones. And you need to know at least a single leg, 2-on-1, arm drag, and duck under. These 4 moves you got to learn to get your white award. And then to get your yellow award, there's a certain amount of moves, but also you got your conditioning. You should be able to do at least minimum 10 press-ups unassisted and like 2 pull-ups unassisted. This is for kids. So we kind of put that in place because we wanted it to be, how do I put it, accessible to every kid. Because some parents might not want their kids to compete, which is fine. But you should, if you wanted to compete, you can. But we needed something to kind of measure them with, you know? So to say, look, this is where
it's like the incentive. I think that's why a lot of people do jiu-jitsu, because there's a stripe and then it's this belt, and they might not even like the sport, but they're like, I want to get to this level. I want to get to this next level, this belt, this stripe. And then once they get that, but with wrestling, what me and my brother, we found is that it was hard to get some of the kids to want to keep loving it, you know? And then we started introducing some small things like, if you're a really good wrestler, you come into the next class, you know?
Yeah.
You can come to the adult class. You can do this, you can do that. So we had to find ways to keep kids, because other jiu-jitsu kids, they always want to come. It's like every time they come, oh, coach, you know, Lucas and my nephew, they coach the jiu-jitsu program, and they're always like, the kids are like, oh, when am I getting my next stripe? When am I getting this? When am I getting that? But for the wrestling kids, it's hard. What do you get? But what I've noticed about those kids that really like the wrestling program, they're the rough kids, bro.
So
they're the rough
savages, bro.
They're different kids, bro. They're different kids. And they go to the jiu-jitsu class and they still beat up those jiu-jitsu kids.
100%. So we've got like, so in the club, so what we try and do, we want a unified system here. So we encourage the jiu-jitsu guys to do wrestling and the wrestling guys to do jiu-jitsu. So that's kind of like our ultimate athlete is someone who could do both, right? So when you look at we're always looking to make the ultimate grappler, you know, like you know, like if you sat down and you were gonna draw out a superhero, you know, if you look at a grappler, you want someone who's aggressive, who's top game, but can fight off his back, knows the takedowns, strong mentality, humble, you know, all humble, resilient, all these things, yeah. So with my kids, I made sure that. So my kids are only, my eldest one, he's 16. He's only been doing jiu-jitsu for 2 years, yeah. I think maybe 3 years actually, but he was been wrestling since he was 5 years old, and I realized that for me, when parents ask me, they like, what should I? If I had to choose one sport between wrestling and jiu-jitsu to start, I said, look, always start with wrestling, because wrestling is, it's gonna give your. I'm not downplaying jiu-jitsu at all, bro. But I'm saying if you had to choose one, wrestling is more difficult in the sense of what it takes from you. What to do a takedown is not easy, you know. Like once you're on the ground and you start working on the ground, like I'm not saying it's easier, but I just feel like there's a different type of intensity, you know, with a wrestler than with a jiu-jitsu guy.
Right. With a jiu-jitsu match, it's like you can go in and one guy can pull guard and one guy cannot engage all the time. You know, you can just grab legs and move around a bit. But in wrestling, there's passive calls.
Yes.
So you can't back off. You can't run away. So it's just a different intensity, bro. Like, you know, we're always trying to make our kids start with the wrestling program. First, I think it's a bit easier to teach because the jiu-jitsu movements are a lot more difficult. Yeah. That's one thing about jiu-jitsu. The movements are very difficult, and it's very hard to make people understand that when you're in someone's guard, you can't really attack them. You know, but in wrestling, it's like you want to we try to tell them you got to push forward. These are the techniques, and we focus on the big warm-ups. You know, making kids do the front rolls. Always say to a kid, how can you expect to be better if you can't even control your own body weight? You know, and that's the same for adults too. Some adults, they come in and they're these beefed up dudes, massive, strong guys, can't even do a forward roll. Mate, what are you doing with all these like weights? You can't even do a forward roll, you can't do a back roll, you can't control your own body weight. What's the point of it?
Yeah, so true, but I feel like you hit the nail on the head when you said wrestling is easier to teach kids, because when you see kids wrestle, have you got kids? Not yet.
I have 2 kids, yeah.
Oh, my bad. Are they boys, yeah?
2 boys, yeah.
Oh, my bad, mashallah. And how old are they?
My eldest son, he's 3.
Mashallah.
So
and the
I
little
always
one?
say, whenever I take him to, I always say, this boy, you're the king. You're the king of the wrestling comps. Everyone's gonna know you. I always try to dream up. Everyone's gonna know you. Everyone's gonna know who you are.
Mashallah. So what do you see when I watch my kids like grapple with each other when they were little? Yeah, not once did I see them pull guard. This is without knowing any grappling. I'm just them play fighting. Yeah, it's not a natural movement, isn't it? It's not a natural movement to pull guard or to pass guard or to go side control, you know, or triangle. But wrestling,
always trying to get back up.
Exactly. They try and get back up, or they try and that. And for them, it's a win when I've taken him down. It's kind of a win, isn't it? And I'm on top. It's a win, you know?
Exactly. A pin is a win. Even without telling someone, they already know that a pin is a win.
Exactly. So that's why I feel like you need to start with a strong wrestling base. You got a strong wrestling base. And I really think that you could start jiu-jitsu at 11, you'd be fine. If you wrestled from like 5 years old to 11, you didn't touch jiu-jitsu at all, and you started jiu-jitsu at 11, 12, you'll be fine, bro.
100%, bro. We got like some guys in our gym. Well, we have this one guy who's recently joined with us. He's a high-level wrestler. He's like national champion. His name is Melly. So
mashallah,
he started doing jiu-jitsu with us, and the guy's been doing jiu-jitsu for like 2 weeks, and everyone's complaining about him that he's just smashing them.
Exactly.
So,
exactly. Yeah. So it's that's why wrestling has this kind of thing. But I feel like there's a how to put it? There's a barrier sometimes when people watch a wrestling session. It's like, whoa, what the hell is this, man? Like, these guys are doing backflips. They're doing like they're lifting each other up. Does that make sense? It's like that's the barrier when people see it. Yeah. So we've got this. So I teach the beginners, adults as well, and so I always ask the guys when they come in. I'm like, when's the last time you did anything kind of like this? He goes, oh, I've never done it. So I teach them the front row. The front row is always a win. When you get someone to do a front row, it's like, imagine someone's maybe never done it in his adult life ever, you know?
Yeah.
And when you start showing them that, you know what, your body's designed to do these things, you just need to let go and stop. Kids that don't have any inhibitions. kids will just try it. But as adults, something happens to us while we're growing up that makes us kind of like, oh my God, like. I had one Algerian brother come in recently. He's an older brother. He came with. He wrestled in Algeria, so he was. I think he fought at like quite a decent level, yeah, in Algeria. And like I think when he left Algeria, like he hasn't wrestled at all since then, yeah. So he's like, he came in to bring his kid, yeah, and then he's like, I want to start training. So he bought wrestling boots and he came in. Allahumma barik, bro. I saw him do a reverse press. I was like, yeah, this guy still got it in his DNA, man. It's like, he found it from somewhere. I don't know. Boom, the way he stuck the landing as well. Boom. But he went and threw up in the toilet afterwards. But it was like, it was inside him, Like, and mashallah, he's been coming ever since. Like, yeah, he's got that bond with his kid now, which is amazing, like, mashallah, bro. So, and it's always good to see that, to see. What's the makeup of your members?
In terms of like what they prefer to do, or their background?
Yeah. So everything. So you got background first, what they prefer to do. What's the most popular thing in your gym at the moment? And yeah.
And we really try to push the wrestling program. Like we got like a solid 10 that would come.
Right.
That will show up regularly. With the jiu-jitsu, man, sometimes you get like 30 on the mat, more, because we split the levels. So there's 30 to 40 people on the mat. What I think it is that the jiu-jitsu is less intense on the body because you can hold back, you can kick back a lot more. But with wrestling, even when you're doing the technique, you're getting thrown, you're getting back up. It's just hard on people's bodies, and people don't really like hard sometimes. One thing is about me when we opened up the gym and we had these kids and even adults, I always was telling my brother and my partner Lucas is that we were saying, man, we want everyone to be a champion. We want everyone to be a champion. But some people are not there for that. Some people don't want to be a champion. Some people don't want to train hard, So we're trying to, we now have a program where we want to make it accessible to everyone, like you guys.
Yeah.
And it's good for everyone to do. But you can't push people to do hard things sometimes. Some people don't want to push themselves. And I think that's why people at 70 years old, even 80, you see these guys getting their black belts in jiu-jitsu. But in wrestling, you don't really see people wrestling past 40 to 50, man.
Yes. Because you can't like wrestle light. Doesn't work like that, bro. You can't
get suplexed lightly, bro.
But I feel like I think what we need to do is there's like a middle ground, like so what we tried I'm sure you guys do this as well. We start to develop something called a wrestling flow. So everyone does this. We're not it's not like something new that we've designed, but for example, like the last lesson what we did was from snap down, front headlock, break the table, yeah? Then gator roll from there, and snap down from there, cement mixer. Then snap down from there, go single leg, run the pipe. Does that make sense? So you've got like a set of, like basically forget flow, chain wrestling.
Movements,
movement
pattern.
Exactly, movement pattern, chain wrestling, yeah? And I feel like if you don't want to spar, it's a really good way to put things in place where you're drilling in that way that you still get the same intensity, the cardiovascular, the strength training, the flexibility and all that type of stuff without being smashed on your head all the time, like, And those guys who want to like wrestle hard, we've got Sunday open mat where it's basically put your gum shield in, warm up, and then boom, you start wrestling, man. So that I feel like we're starting to, and I feel now, for example, our wrestling class, the beginner, we have about last week we had about 40 guys on the mat.
Wow, mashallah, that's amazing.
So it was really good. So, but obviously we have a big dropout. So a lot of guys come. So out of that 40, we've probably got about 20 to 30 that are regulars. And then
20 to 30 is a big number too.
It's a big number, yeah. Allahumma barik. But when you, like Coach Emil was showing me the high school wrestling, the finals, 10,000 seat stadium, man. I was thinking,
Crazy.
imagine 10,000 people watching high schoolers wrestle, bro. It's nuts.
You know, it's like you want to build. We always talk about it. Oh, we want to build wrestling in Australia. We want to make it massive. But you know, like you said before, when you had the podcast with, was it Mike? And he was saying about they have Div 1 and Div 2 and Div 3, and then they have the freshmen's years. We don't have that. But one thing I always tell the kids at wrestling, say to them, man, these guys in Dagestan, they're the best in the world, you know? And some of them never really had gyms to train at. Run down gyms. People can be champions from anywhere, bro. People can be champions from anywhere. If you doubt yourself and you're just like, I'm going to verse this American guy because he's American, he's good. Or this Russian guy because he's Russian, he's good. That's self-doubt. I just really believe that's a self-doubt. Otherwise, and you're never going to be good if that's the case. I tell these kids all the time, even the adults, if you really put yourself to it, like one guy, if you follow the jiu-jitsu scene, his name is Levi Jones, and my coach Lucas and Ari, they were like pretty much his training partners leading up, and he beat Lucas Lepre, man. That's huge. Just the guy from Sydney, Australia, training in the city, beats Lucas Lepre, one of the biggest names, and then he goes on to win Spider Invitational at that year that he done it, 2020, I think, or 2019, pre-COVID, and he wins 100K in jiu-jitsu, and
it's crazy.
Just a regular dude training with these guys in the city, you know. Once we put that self-doubt in ourselves, and it's like, oh, I can't be a champion, or I can't be at the top because I'm not from this country, or I don't train with this guy. And maybe these guys didn't even have huge training partners or big name training partners, but they got there, man. They put in the hard work. You get there.
Well, and I think that's something that Coach Emil always tells us. Yeah, he told me, he goes, listen, single leg is a single leg, man. Like, there's how many ways 100%. You're gonna learn a single leg, bro? How many ways you're gonna learn a double leg? How many ways you're gonna learn front headlock? Like,
we get these dudes call us and they're like, brother, do you do Sambo at your gym? I'm like, bro, can you explain to me what Sambo is? I don't know what Sambo is. Oh, you know, Khabib does it. Oh, does he? And tell me what Sambo is. I want to know, because to me, it's no-gi jiu-jitsu.
That's it, basically.
A modified gi jiu-jitsu form, bro. Takedowns, the same exact takedowns, the same exact finishes. He's not doing something you and I haven't seen, bro. It's exactly the same thing. Wallah, it's just funny when these guys call me. It's
over, like, even Khabib, for example. Have you seen anything from him that is new? It's you see it every day in the gym. I'm not saying what he's doing is but he does it very, very well, and he's drilled it, and
perfectly.
he's perfectly. Like, and it's not like he's learned some new lock somewhere of the Khabib lock or the this or that. It's the same moves that we've taught over thousands of years, not hundreds, thousands of years. It's not like it's not like a martial art has been created hundreds of years. This is thousands of years of grappling that has been passed on generation to generation. It's been tweaked. But it's the same stuff, man. The Romans and the Greeks used to do the same stuff. A suplex is a suplex.
100%.
You know, double leg is a double leg.
That's why I really love that integration of people who can do the wrestling and do the jiu-jitsu. You put it together, man, you got yourself a dangerous recipe, bro.
100%, man. And have you ever thought
you can't neglect one component?
Yeah, 100%. And that's why I try and push my children as well. And the other day they were like, I don't want to do jiu-jitsu anymore, man. I was like, listen, it's fard for you, bro. You got to do both. You know what I'm saying? It's compulsory, bro. Like, you got to do both, you know? And you'll thank me later. When you're an adult, you'll thank me, you know? But
100%.
So I want a quick side note. Would you ever consider doing combat jiu-jitsu? The ones with because you're Arab, we know how to slap, bruv. So
yeah, bro. All that experience from the years from my parents, bro.
That's right. The dodge. Have you ever thought about it?
You know, I had a match last week in Interstate in Melbourne, and it was supposed to be a combat match, but for some reason the rules got changed and went back to a jiu-jitsu match. But yeah, I actually had a few MMA fights and a few boxing fights, but just I don't agree with it anymore, to be honest, for myself and for people around. Like it's just especially when I was studying and I was sparring, and when I was going through the weight cuts, I couldn't retain any information, bro. I was like, I'm always in another zone. And people were like, bro, you're all right. I go out with my mates to eat after. I'm like, yeah, I'm fine, bro. And I don't know what I was thinking of or what. Probably too many punches to the head that night, bro.
Yeah, it's tough, man. And I like, that's why we don't do MMA at our gym, because that
Yeah.
specific thing about hitting to the head. I love MMA. I love watching it. We've even got another show called Bedouin Breakdown that we've set up to break down fights and stuff like that. But I would never personally recommend someone to do MMA as a sport. I mean, train it. Like, try not to get hit in the head. Try, maybe if you can, we had some brothers here actually in the UK who set up this MMA tournament, but with no strikes to the head.
Nice.
It was just body kicks but again, getting punched in the chest like that, yeah. Again, that's because if you're not getting hit in the head, you're gonna get punched in the chest, innit? Or so there's always risk in it. So I think they've done a few shows, and then it kind of like folded. It ran its course. But it was a good idea, man. Yeah. But like, concussions are no joke, man. People like suffering from amnesia and not amnesia. What's that? Alzheimer's and CTE and all that stuff, man. Like someone like, for example, I just saw. Do you know the boxer Ricky Hatton?
Yeah, I know him, bro.
Recently, he's fighting Barrera. I think
Barrera, yeah, I've seen it today.
Did you see it today? Yeah. So like Ricky Hatton, he got damaged, bro. Like in his fights, he's the type of guy who takes mad damage, and like you said, the weight. Do you see how much? See his shape, the shape he came into, bro.
He looked good, bro.
He looked but because I don't know if you've seen Ricky Hatton out of shape. He's always between boxing matches.
Yeah.
Go to the.
I've seen him with his son once. He looked pretty massive, like that.
Yeah, again, obviously, he's probably better. He looks really good, man. I don't think he's ever looked as good as that, bro. Oh yeah, probably has. But how old is he? He must be 50.
50, I think.
Yeah, subhanallah. So, but again, getting smashed in the face like that, and I think especially boxing is because the aim is to knock the person out. So
it's damage, bro.
So that's why I love wrestling, bro. And the fact that it's a sunnah as well on top of that, that gives you that connection that you're doing something, that ties you to the sunnah, bro.
It's funny how I found out about you guys. My friend, he actually gave me the translated book by Nizar Sheikh.
Oh, mashallah.
Prophetic Grappling.
Yeah.
And then I just started searching up this guy, Nizar Sheikh. Mashallah, what a beautiful brother. And I just wanted to find out more about him, And then I seen that he did the podcast with you guys.
Yeah.
And when I watched the podcast with you guys and him, man, I was like, I'm watching these dudes all the time, because so many things you guys spoke about in that podcast was directly related to me and actually brought a lot of resentment that I had in my heart for like political jiu-jitsu, the politics that you face sometimes.
Yeah.
Brought me back to reality. And just from the podcast, people around you can tell you that it's okay, things like this are okay when you get kicked out of a gym or you start to have friends that, you with them every day based on the gym. My son was born that night, I was at the gym. And then you're not going to see these guys anymore because of like a little disagreement about politics in the sport.
You get that over there as well?
Another person. Right. We get that here, all right? We get it a lot.
Same here, man. It's ridiculous, akhi, bro. The worst thing is, I can't remember who I was talking to yesterday. I said, La ilaha illallah has its weight. If someone says La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah, and he enters the fold of, so he's a Muslim, that should mean something. That should hold some weight. Does that make sense? Like jiu-jitsu, wrestling, business, money should not get involved in that. You might, because we were talking about, Wahshi killed Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam's uncle. Yeah. And he became Muslim after that. And the Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam forgave him, but he couldn't look at him after that. So you see that Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam was a human being. He wasn't like this, but he knew that, look, I've forgiven him, but the human part of me, like my uncle was very close to me. Does that make sense? He was someone who's very dear to me. And the manner in which he died, they took out his liver, bro. So imagine,
was it his heart?
or heart or liver? I think heart. Sorry, and I think Hind.
Yeah.
I think she bit into it.
Hind did it. Yeah,
That's
he bit into
correct.
it.
So imagine that's horrific, bro. To have that done to someone who who protected you when no one would protect you, bro. You know, think about
100%.
Subhanallah. Look at Hamza radiallahu anhu. He became Muslim not because he said, I am of the religion of my nephew because of what happened. And then afterwards is when he kind of really thought about what he said, innit? He said it in a matter of, I'm protecting him, you know? And so, yes, we have disagreements. Yes, you can, what's the word? You can disagree with someone, but you should never, that kalima should hold the weight. You say, you know, if someone was to speak ill of that person, you should defend that person. Does that make sense? Even though maybe you have a personal disagreement. You know what I'm saying? So, and I feel like even here in the UK, there's brothers that we know that they fell out because of jiu-jitsu, bro. I'm like, what? Bro, I would rather not ever train again than fall into backbiting, fall into kind of like, for what? Jiu-jitsu, bro. Get out of here, man. That's ridiculous, bro. Does that make sense? It's like, it's not even a thing. It's
100%.
like falling out over £10 or 10, do you have pounds over there, bro? Australian pounds, right?
No, kilograms.
No, I meant money, sorry. Dollars.
Australian dollar.
Exactly, yeah. So yeah, like that should never, but unfortunately, people are people, innit? It's gonna happen, bro, you know? So let's wrap this up because I know it's getting late for you, bro. What's the plan now? What's the plan now for Sydney Wrestling Academy for you for the next few years? Oh, we're actually doing quite well and it's frozen. Ali, you still there, bro?
For me, bro, like, yeah, I can hear you, Ishan. I think we're back.
Okay, yeah, I can see you now. Yeah.
Yeah, all good.
Okay.
Yeah, we're back.
All right. Barakallahu fik.
For me, I compete in the ADCC rule sets, and my dream was to always make it to the ADCC or Commonwealth Games for wrestling.
ADCC.
Like
Commonwealth
this year,
Games.
I competed in the trials. I had for the ADCC in regards to like submission grappling jiu-jitsu, or for freestyle wrestling, Commonwealth Games, Olympics. If I could get there, it's just hard work, you know.
Yeah,
it's hard work, but inshallah. So for me, I had a run this year at the ADCC trials, and I came 5th, and my loss was like on a points base, but yeah, I can go and say like, oh, the points should have been scored or blah blah blah. You know what I mean? But alhamdulillah, it wasn't written for me. I can accept that. But in terms of the gym, bro, our plan is to really, and I say this, man, I believe we're gonna get some kids and some adults to the top level, bro.
Inshallah.
Like we have some top-notch wrestling coach like Lenny, you know, he's from Ukraine, and we have another guy, Ashot, he's from Georgia. He coaches the kids the program. We're getting in these coaches, and the jiu-jitsu program, we have Lucas. This guy, man, I swear, if you see him, my love for jiu-jitsu was reignited when I met him and I seen him and I rolled with him. And I remember I went that one day to that training session, because in Sydney what we have is this open mat program now between our gym and another gym called My BJJ Westside, which is like 5 minutes away from us. And we collaborate with them. Monday we train at ours, Tuesday we train at them, Wednesday at ours, Thursday at theirs, and we do this open mat training. But before our gym came about, I trained with them and I seen these guys and I was like, man, this is jiu-jitsu, bro. This is what I need to be doing. Because, you know, if you're just learning the fundamental stuff all the time, you're just not getting better. And that was what was happening with me, is like I was part of a gym and always constantly going over the fundamental things, never really learned anything new over the time. And I was like, I have to search out. I've got to find something. And then when I seen this, they're doing these things called K-guards and matrix entries and bolos and all this. And I'm like, what is this, bro? What is this? You know? And then it was like, all right, this is where I need to be. And then that was the start of my political problems with jiu-jitsu. But regardless of that, this is when it was like, this is what I have to be doing. So now we have Lucas, and him and I, we run the gym together. But the things he's doing for the adults and the kids, man, it's special, bro. Wallah. And you see some of these kids, they're competing. Like, we've been having a lot of success in the jiu-jitsu comps, even in the wrestling comp. We came first in the national team, youth team. So we're getting the results, bro. We just gotta always tell my kids all the time, like all the kids that train with us, even the adults, bro, if you want to be good, you gotta believe where you want to be. You know, I was watching that movie King Arthur not that long ago.
Yeah.
About Serena Williams and Venus Williams.
Oh, yes.
And their dad.
Yes.
Man, these guys, they're two girls from Compton. You're not talking like any part of America. You're talking about Compton, bro. And you got these two in a time where probably they didn't even want to see black people rise, you know? They don't want to see black people having all this fame and power. And these girls, man, they go out and they kill it. And they, at the 14 or 15 years old, and she's competing against world number one, and she just loses because, I don't know if you've seen it, she takes the break and she comes back.
That's correct.
But that's what I tell the kids all the time. You want to be good. You could be good, man. You have the facilities. You have the coaching. And we tell people, if you don't think you're getting enough here, bro, you're more than welcome to go to other places to search it too. Like my nephew, he goes to Art Jiu-Jitsu like once a year now and trains with the Mendez brothers because he wants to tells himself, I want to be the best at Jiu-Jitsu in the world. I asked him, bro, you can be the best at Jiu-Jitsu in the world. No one's holding you back. Because, you know, I don't know what it was like for you guys. When our parents first came here, the support wasn't as much, you know? They did as much as they could for us. And sport was nothing. Yeah. Sport was just like, you do it for fun. But now people are making their livelihoods from it. And I tell my nephew all the time, man, and he's got his dad's support, he's got his uncle's support, his grandparents' support now, because they understand it. It's like, if you want to really be good at something, doesn't mean you have to put all your eggs in one basket, but you could really be good. And you could be at the top level, man. There's no difference between you and that guy at the top level.
And subhanAllah, there's a lot of transferable skills as well. So, like, I feel like as a young man, I'm talking to young men here. Yeah, like you've got you're kind of, so I'm about 10 years older than you. So I'm 39 this year. Yeah.
You look younger than me, bro.
Nah, astaghfirullah, bro. Allahumma barik. You're better looking anyway, bro. And I definitely don't look younger than you, 100%. If I take this hat off, there's no hair under here, bro. So, this is called, they call it hat fishing.
Oh,
do you know what hat fishing is? We
all got the same problem around here, bro.
That's it. Too much testosterone.
Yeah, bro, the Arab testosterone.
That's it, bro. So, what I was saying is, like, you should try and excel. Like, when you become a man, when you hit puberty and you're getting all this rush of testosterone in your body, yeah, you should try, you need to, it's like a flame. It's like you're either going to burn the house down or you're going to cook your food with it. It's up to you, you know? So you can be a student, the best. You can be an athlete, the best. You can be a businessman, you can do all of these things. You know, you have youth on your side. And as long as you listen to those guys around you, your elders, learn from their mistakes, listen to their advice, train. Like, for example, stay away from women. Stay away from womanizing, bro. Go and train. Go in the evenings, you should be at the gym. You should be training. If you're not doing jiu-jitsu or wrestling, you should be doing your strength and conditioning training. Over the weekend, rest and relaxation, bro. Do something like, maybe go play golf, maybe go swimming, maybe play chess, maybe play some computer games, maybe, does that make sense? Like, get that rest and relaxation over the weekends. Make sure you pray your fajr, make sure you do your adhkar, make sure you've read at least 5 ayahs of the Quran every single day. At least minimum 5. Yeah, make sure you do your adhkar. Make sure you're in touch with your spiritual side, man. You know, go be in nature, go, all these things, because we live in such a built-up, modern, fake world, yeah? Stay away from social media, man. Stay away from, like, you've got no business at 14 and having a social media, bro. Got no business. Like, try and kind of cultivate yourself. It's very important. And I think sport and salah and everything is like this. They go together, man. You know, one is to temper your soul and one is to temper your body, man, and your mind. SubhanAllah. So I feel like that's why me and Coach Amir will try our best to keep the place open, because we have Allahumma barik. Yesterday I just had a conversation after training. 2 of our guys are going into medical school. You know, they've been wrestling with us for a while, and it's no accident, because Coach Amir is a doctor, bro. He's a doctor. He works in A&E. So you see, when you're around people like that, like if I said, for example, your son, if he wanted to become a doctor, yeah. Now, for me, I always used to think doctor. Whoa, that's like something. When I was younger, like when you see a doctor, it's like, what? You can't even fathom in your head, Ali, how did this guy get to the point where he's diagnosing illnesses and he's doing all it? But subhanAllah, when Amir broke it down for me, he goes, bro, it's just like learning technique. It's just repetition, bro. It's just getting the facts, learning it, doing test papers, doing all it. And he broke it down for me. I was like, subhanAllah, I've overshot. Like you said, you don't have to go to Dagestan to learn wrestling, bro. Single leg is a single leg, bro. Don't over
100%.
Exactly. So I think for me, that's why we should have like places like yourself, like people, young people that are coming to you. Like, can you imagine? You've got a kid that started with you maybe 7 years old, 6 years old, and they're with you until they hit their 20s, bro. That's practically your child, bro. That's practically your son, bro. Do you know what I'm saying?
You know, touching up on what you were saying and what you were saying regarding, what's the planned future of Wrestling Academy, Sydney Wrestling Academy? It's like, it's hard to sometimes get people to go to the mosque, you know? Sometimes it's not so appealing, maybe because of the people that are in there. Maybe it's not. But what we're trying to create is this community and this environment that these kids and adults, and for myself, before anyone, for myself, is that it's very easy to say, I fear Allah. It's very easy to say, yeah, I love Allah. But man, Saturday night comes and the boys are out and they want to go party, and they want to go drink, and they want to do all the things that are haram, you know? But for me, wallah, like my brothers, they were very strict on me when I was growing up, you know, and my parents were as well. They had me in like half a school and whatnot, but it's very easy to go astray.
Yeah.
And especially where we live around, you know. One thing that which really kept me away from that scene is because I had training on Sunday morning. I didn't want to miss training on Sunday morning. I wanted to give it my best, you know. In my head, I want to be the best in the world. And yeah, it's like, of course, we fear Allah, but that, like you said, putting together with the soul and the physicality, with the wrestling and the jiu-jitsu plus the deen perspective, man, they go hand in hand together. And like you said, you have these young kids that come to you. It's like you raised your kid. I found out the other day, one young kid from us that just joined our club recently, another kid from his school told me that he's getting bullied at school. And that, man, an 11-year-old kid is contemplating suicide.
Whoa.
I said, what do you mean? Like, are you serious? An 11-year-old kid is getting bullied that much at a Muslim Islamic school that he wants to commit suicide. So I pulled this kid aside, and I said, man, I want to talk to you about something, like, as more so than your coach, as your uncle and your friend. I said, I heard that this is happening to you, that you're getting bullied at school. And he said to me, yeah, it's true. And then I said to him, you go and you tell those kids, my coach and my uncles from the gym are gonna come beat you up, bro. We got no problems with going up and beating up an 11-year-old kid for bullying, man. We'll beat that kid up in front of his friends too. Right? If they're sending these kids to that, like, sort of, and now the kid comes up to me now and he feels safe. Yeah. Now the gym is his safe house, you know? But wallahi, if he comes and he tells me next week that kid is still bullying me, bro, we're going.
Yeah, right on
20
them, bro.
bearded cauliflower ear guys are going and rocking it up to the school waiting for that 11-year-old kid, bro. I don't care, because you can't let that happen, man.
That's true, bro.
But
I've had similar situations where, even, for example, there's a big problem with single motherhood in our communities, bro. Like, you know, like absent fathers, bro, or fathers that are, like, you know, messing around, bro, and their kids are in their teens, you know. And well, like sometimes we get mothers coming, bro. They don't know what to do with their kids, bro. They're like, their sons all over the place, you know. And I've had many situations where I've actually literally pulled the kid by the thing. Come here, sit down. I heard you're missing school. What's all this about? If I hear you missing school one more time, you're not allowed to come to the gym again, bro. You fix up.
Yeah, 100%.
If I find out that you're not going to school, I'm going to rock up at that school. I'm going to chief you up in front of all your friends. I don't want to, and I promise you, I will do that. It's not even like, it's nothing for me, man. You know? Because,
I believe you, right?
yeah, subhanAllah, because the thing is, I know, like I used to be a teacher for about 10 years, bro. Like I taught in schools, I taught in, I used to work with young offenders and all it, and I feel like boys, they respect authority. They're like wolves. They need an alpha. They need someone who's an alpha to tell them. They don't need someone who's a vegetarian, bruv. Do you understand? They don't need someone who's always talking about their feelings all the time. And I'm not saying don't talk about your feelings. I'm saying they respect power and authority. That's what men, that's what we're like. I read a report a few years ago. It says, if you get men together, the first thing that they'll do, they'll pick someone to lead over them. That's the first thing that we'll do. They've done tests. Yeah? And women, so that's how we make decisions. We look, okay, who's the most competent to lead us? We'll find that person, and then we'll run decisions by this person because he's the most competent person, you know? With women, it's more of when they're together, they all need to be, they all need to agree on the decision before they make it. And this is generalizing, by the way, yeah? Not all women are like this, but I'm saying in general, that's because they care about each other's feelings. And you need both sides. You need both sides. You can't just have, one side. So with a kid, with a boy, I give you an example. You talked about the masjid, yeah? Like, if you walk in the masjid and the imam's fat, he's tired, he's old, and he's giving young people advice, like, and he's not really.
I respect it.
Yeah, I'm not saying they shouldn't. I'm just saying it's just from the eyes, isn't it? But if you see someone with a back straight, he doesn't have to be young. Could be he's back straight. He's assertive. You're gonna listen to that person, you know. So Ali, I feel like, bruv, I wanna come down to Australia, bro, and come wrestle with you guys, bro.
Right. When you come, inshallah, you stay with us.
Bruv, I'm telling you.
You enter the jungle, bro.
I love it, man. Look, we live in the hood here, man. We're in the hood, so I don't mind.
Bro, I bet you it's exactly the same. Us and you guys, exactly the same. I don't even doubt it.
100%, bro. But the flight is going to kill me, though, bro. That flight.
Snakes in the toilet as well. That's
Oh, yeah, snakes in the toilet. Oh, yeah, do you have snakes in the toilet in Australia, bro?
crocodiles coming out of nowhere.
No, not where I'm from. Probably in the countryside, bro.
So, alhamdulillah, wallahi, one blessing of having this podcast is being able to speak to, people like yourself from all over the world. Last week I spoke to a brother Aqil he's living in Cape Verde. He invited us out there and stuff. And wallahi, anytime you're in Europe or in London, bro, if you ever come and compete in London, anytime, bruv, the gym's open to you, inshallah. You come train with us and you come live with us, bro. We'll find you somewhere to stay. Well, honestly, bruv, because I know you. But
That'll be my first stop ever, inshallah.
Inshallah. Whenever you come down, make sure you hit us up, inshallah. Barakallahu fiqh, bro. And
yeah, I just want to say,
yeah.
I just wanted to say that, when you guys first asked me to come into this podcast, for me, I was a bit hesitant, and I said, I don't really have much to talk about, But I wanted to say a small shout out to my brother. His name is Omar Safa. He's the one that said, I told him, because he watches the podcast. I think he's watched all the podcasts, bro, with you guys. Man. So a special mention to him, because then I said to him, they told me to come onto the podcast, and he said, bro, you go on. I said, man, I feel like I don't have much to talk about. I feel like don't have any wisdom to share with anyone. And then he said to me, bro, you might think that you're nothing, but to us you're something, and that really meant a lot to me, bro, because you know what it's like when you have a gym and the financial part is nothing. You try to build this community, you try to build a brotherhood where it's everyone there, they know they're safe. That's the first thing. And then it's the brotherhood where if something ever happens to me, I know these guys. Well, and everyone there, they're waiting to help me, you know. And that's what the culture we're trying to build. More than anything, yeah, the jiu-jitsu and the wrestling we share, but the main thing is the brotherhood that we have, you know.
I mean, and bro, this is an invitation. What's your brother's name, bro? Sorry.
Omar Safa.
Omar. Omar Safa.
Yeah.
Omar Habibi, please. I want you on, man. I need to speak to you, bro. Your brother speaks very highly of you, and I'm getting. I really want to speak to you, inshallah. So I'm gonna hold you to it. I don't care if you're shy, bro. You can't tell your brother to come on and give him advice to come on. You're not gonna come on yourself, bro. So if he's available,
He'll be the best guy to talk to, I reckon.
Oh, wicked, man. So inshallah, what we'll do after this, we'll organize a time where we can speak, inshallah. Because it looks like he was your inspiration to start wrestling, you know. So it'd be good to speak to him, inshallah.
Inshallah.
Barakallahu fiqh, Ali. Wallah, I feel like I could talk to you all day, bro. But that.
Likewise, my bro.
Barakallahu fiqh, akhi. And to everyone on the podcast, listening, sorry, that we got your first someone from is it the Southern Hemisphere? Southern Hemisphere, right?
Southern, yeah.
Yeah, wicked. So, guys, I will see you on the next one.